Royalty. Royalty. Power to the chosen people.
Okay, so we'll be in Deuteronomy chapter 18. The first half of this lesson is on YouTube, and it's under some title that obviously has just slipped my mind. It's under witchcraft, something. But not the funny one. There's another one that's not funny.
Talk about the false prophets, religious manipulators.
Yes.
Making a choice.
Yes.
Coming in the form of a life, but that's witchcraft.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that's the first part. So last week what we did was we took that portion heavily for two reasons. One, my mom was going to be out, so I ended up teaching, and it just kind of ran concurrent to what I posted, and I know people had a lot of questions, so I posted that. So this week we're going to actually skip that part and go to the following part. So we're not going to read through all of 18, but I will bring out that first portion again, starting at verse 1, and it says, "The priests and the Levites and all the tribes of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of Yahuwah made by fire, and his inheritance. Therefore shall they have inheritance among their brethren. Yahuwah is their inheritance, as he has said unto them, and this shall be the priest's due from the people. From them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep, and they shall give unto the priest the shoulder and the two cheeks and the maw. The first fruits also of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thy oil, and the first of the fleece of thy sheep shalt thou give him. For Yahuwah thy Elohim hath chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand to minister in the name of Yahuwah, him and his sons forever. And if a Levite come from any of thy gates out of all of Israel, where he sojourn, and come with all the desire of his mind unto the place which Yahuwah shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of Yahuwah his Elohim, as all his brethren the Levites do, which stand there before Yahuwah. They shall have like portions to eat." Anyways, okay, so it says, which stand before Yahuwah, they shall have like portions to eat, besides that which cometh of the sale of his patrimony. So, thank you. So, last week we dealt with that briefly, and we dealt with the idea that Yahuwah chose these priests to minister in this fashion. Anyways, so we dealt with how the priests have their portion with Yahuwah and not with the people. And so it stops the manipulation. It should stop the manipulation, because if you're dependent on people to feed you and your family, and they're trying what you're saying for it to be true, because if you're not teaching the truth, then I'm not giving you anything. And it's actually happened throughout Scripture. If you follow the trend of these people, what started to happen was when the priests would go off, then the people would go off. And so they started taking sick lambs to the temple, and sick this, and sick animals, because they didn't reverence the position. And so the portion they have with Yah, it's funny, because people always say, well, Yah sacrificed animals. And I'm like, okay, but nobody talks about the fact that people actually ate these animals that were sacrificed. Like, he wasn't sacrificing them to because God needs people to sacrifice animals for him to exist. No, I had a system set up to where the people that worked for me could eat and live, and they didn't have to go out and do certain things. So those sacrifices outside of the red heifer sacrifice was completely consumed. But but most of the sacrifice, right? It was still used. It was everything was used. So if you think about the Native Americans, they believe that you use everything, you don't waste. Well, how much more would Yah believe that way if he created everything? So everything had a particular purpose. The stuff that he took, which is just awesome. The stuff Yah took that was completely consumed, like the liver and the blood and this, it was all the things that had impurities. Give me all the bad stuff. I can take it, right? But you keep all the good stuff, and that's what you guys eat. So the heart, the liver, the lungs, the sinew, the kidneys, all the stuff that were filters and pretty much gross in that sense, in the sense of what they did in the body. Yah was like, you don't eat that. So the fat was Yah's. You don't eat the fat's mine. He took everything that had impurity, and it was his, because he's the one that does the cleansing. To cleanse it by fire, rid it, and then you take all the good portions, and then you guys eat those. Right? So that makes a lot more sense than saying, oh, he just burned up a bunch of stuff, and they sacrificed. Last week we, in Maury's message, he talked about the temple dedication that Solomon did. And Solomon dedicated over 100 million, if you put it into money, $100 million worth of animals, right? And most people think, because they don't understand sacrifice, he just burnt up a bunch of animals. Bring them. Next one, light it on fire. No, they had a feast. And so what he pretty much did was, obviously you sacrificed them properly, but then the food was to feed all the people that came out to the feast. He provided for everybody that came out when they came to this feast. And they had a feast for 8 days, and they did it for 8 more days. So they partied for 16 days, and he had the party. He was like, look, I got y'all. Drinks on me. Drinks on me. I got this. Okay, so it's the same way with Yah. He provides his own stuff. He doesn't need anybody else. So that's where we're gonna get into today. Back in Exodus, and there's plenty of stuff on that probably online, and she's done a lot of stuff. So I won't go and reteach a whole lesson, but there's a portion where the people built the golden calf, and Moshe comes up to the mountain. Yah said, I'm destroying all these people, every single one of them, all of them. They're done. I'll just start over with you. And he's like, wait, no, don't do it. If you're gonna blot them out, I'd rather you blot me out and give them a chance. And Yah was like, I hear you, but I'm gonna provide for myself a lamb. I don't need you to step in and do what I've already purposed to do. So before we even get, because I know a lot of people have a lot of contention about the New Testament, and I will preface with saying it's because they haven't read it, and I'm going to get to that today. He provides for himself his own lamb, and he does it multiple times. He doesn't just do it one time. So you're like, oh, he did that one time when Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, and they found a ram in the bush. All these are foreshadowing, so that when this thing happens again, then you understand what's actually happening. It's a great kind of story where you read and you see it. Okay, so this passage is just like that. So we're going to go down to verse, toward the bottom, right here. Okay, so he talks about a prophet that will come from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. So start at verse 15. It says, Yahuwah Elohim will rise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him shall ye hearken, according to all that thou desirest of Yahuwah thy Elohim in Horeb in that day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuwah my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And Yahuwah said unto thee, they have spoken that, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will rise him up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and he's speaking about Moshe, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I command him. And it shall come to pass that whoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other Elohims, even that prophet shall die. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which Yahuwah hath not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of Yahuwah, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which Yahuwah Elohim hath not spoken. But the prophet that has spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. So, it's very interesting. You get this picture. And there's a prophet coming, like unto Moses, right? So he's going to be similar to Moses in the capacity of a redeemer and a leader and a kinsman avenger. I mean, he fights Moses as a warrior, and he does a whole bunch of things. Go ahead.
This is a war prophet that you're speaking.
This is going to come to pass.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So it's a foreshadowing. I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So one of the things that happens in the English language is that we get words that don't have an equivalent in Hebrew. And so when English translators, especially English translators who are not culturally attached to the Hebrew people, they'll translate words, things that could mean that, but don't necessarily mean that. So it's confusing. So I don't know if you can see here, but in those verses he says, and if the prophet speak a thing, and that thing not come to pass, and that word thing in Hebrew is davar. It's the same word for word. The prophet speak a word. So it's not a thing. It's not like a thing like if he made an imagination and then it's a thing. No, he's saying if that prophet speaketh word, literally there's only one, there's words coming out of people's mouth, but when in this capacity he's talking about the word. Prophet uses word, which is my word, and then that come not to pass, right? Then that prophet is lying. So this prophet he's talking about is only going to speak Yah's words. So anybody that comes in that capacity and speaks other words, you need to try it according to my word, right? So what happened to Moshe, and that's why Moses obviously a great prophet, and people mention him all the way throughout the rest of Scripture that Yah uses him to write down, is because Moses' job was to write down what Yah told him to write down in those first 5 books in that account. So even when it came to having to write down his own faults, because remember, when Moses struck the rock twice, nobody came back and wrote that for Moses. Moses had to write it himself. When Moses made mistakes, Moses had to write it down, because the account was supposed to be Yah's account of these particular events so that the people would have them and be able to remember them and reference back to them. So the account has to be perfect. The reason why Moshe does not get to see the promised land is because you tampered with the account. So I have to, in the account, show what I do to people who mess up the account, right? Because people get confused with Torah. Go ahead. It's judgment, yes, and swift. I mean, right, he does not get to see it, he told him. And it's funny because, he's such a dad. You know, people miss that part about him. But Moshe kind of kept asking the same thing. Like, I want to see the promised land, kind of. And he told him, he said, I'm going to let you go up on this mountain and see it with your eyes. And you're not going. And he told, and don't ask me again. That was God's, and you better not ask me about it no more. Like, that was his that was his response to him. He was like, okay, you'll get to, I'm gonna let you see it, because you know what, I'm just and I'm merciful and I'm gracious, but I don't play by my rules. You know what I mean? So you messed up this part, and now you have to take the punishment for this. So the punishment was you had to be around these Negroes for 40 years in the wilderness and go through all that stuff, and you live to literally get to the moment where they're getting ready to cross Jordan, all you've been waiting for 40 years, and now you can't go. Woo. He said, speak to it. He didn't say hit it. He said, speak to the rock. These people need water and they get on my nerves. You got aggressive.
What did the rock symbolize, the reason that great punishment came upon him?
You want to? Did you hear your question? The answer in your question? The rock is the Messiah.
So he hit the Messiah.
He said to tap the rock.
It's metaphor. Everything.
Okay. Yes.
From beginning to end.
Right. That wasn't mine.
Only going to be consumed one time for the.
He struck the rock twice.
And he did it twice when they came out.
Actually, he actually repeatedly hit the rock.
He hit it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But when they came out under, he rescued, they came out of Egypt, which was the house of bondage, which is like sin, you come out of sin, covenant, the blood covered you. You came out, you got to the rock, tapped the rock was sacrificed one time out, the water, remission, the cleansing.
Hey, you're just all over my toes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm get off of it.
Okay, so the idea of a thing is the word, right? The word is that what it says it here. So if you see on the screen, and I have my little cursor, so I'll hover it, and it's the one, it says 1697, and it's a dalet, a bet, and a resh. It's dabar, so it's the word. It's the orderly arrangement of things. So it means to do something in order. The word is spoken in order. It's not spoken haphazardly and all over the place, and it has to be understood. So if a person comes and says they're speaking my word, which is orderly and arranged in a particular fashion, and then that order and that fashion does not come to pass, the person's lying. I mean, pretty much what he's saying. But the thing that's really important here, he says, if a prophet, and a lot of people have a distorted idea of what a prophet is. We, me and my husband, we talk about this often, because, you know, you watch people and they say, I got a word, and God told me to speak this word to you, right? And this is for you, and I'm like, okay. Like, right? Go ahead. that ain't for me. Like you get to talk. No, that's not.
Okay.
Because the word has to come from the word. People keep saying, I haven't heard God say anything. Well, if you haven't read everything he already said, just like a parent, I'm not saying nothing else to you. Like if I've already told you what to do in order to get what you want from me, and then you don't do that and you come like, I want to go out this weekend and hang out with my friends. Okay, you need to clean your room all week, right? And then the day comes where you want to go out and you're like, did you clean your room? No, but I was figuring like, can I do something else? No, that was the thing that you were supposed to do in order to get, I'm not giving you nothing new. So Yah doesn't change. So you get to the Brit Kadashah, the New Testament, I'm not giving you a new way to do what I've already set up to do. I'm not the problem, you are. My word's not the problem, you are. My arrangement and the orderly way that I do things is not the problem, you are. I'm giving you the same remedy every time. So next week when you want to go out, guess what I'm going to tell you to do? Hey, you need to clean your room all week. And then the next week, you know what I'm going to tell you? Hey, you need to clean your, I'm not coming back with, well, you know, she's not really good at cleaning her room. Maybe I'll just like tell her she has to just like rearrange her shoes a little bit. No, you clean that room. Like that's your thing. And then when you get that thing, or when you get that word or that orderly arrangement, then I'll give you something else. So people are like, oh, I don't want the Bible. I'm gonna read this. He's like, I don't got nothing to say. You won't hear me until you first hear me and lay the rules that I have, because then you'll start doing some strange stuff. So the idea of a prophet, we'll deal with this. So the prophet, and I'm actually going to use Hidden in Plain Sight. I'm sure you guys probably seen it online. But I actually wrote a portion in there, so it's easier for me to read what I already wrote than to go back and then reteach something that I already put in there. Okay, so literally, the Hebrew word for prophecy is nebu'ah. So you'll see it right here, 50-30, and right here. But there's a noon, a bet, there's a yod, and an aleph. So this word right here for a prophet is nabi. So it's actually a prophet. Nebuah is the word, right? And the meaning of this word is in the original language gives us the heart of Yah for his people. So a prophet should be seeking the heart of Yah, right? And the word is composed of a two-letter root, which is noon and bet. The noon is a picture of a seed, and the bet is a picture of a tent or a house, or that which is inside. When these meanings are combined, we see the pictographical definition of the seed inside. This is a very beautiful definition of prophecy, and the nation of Israel within the house is the seed, right? The house is representative of the set-apart place for the family. So there's a particular place where a family is designated, right? While the house may host a stranger or a sojourner, the house still only produces the seed that is similar to the original intent of the fruit. Prophecy is a picture of the fruit that is produced from inside. The seed is the word, right? And when the word is planted by the Father, it produces a tree that bears fruit. The tree spoken of in Scripture is Israel, and the knowledge or fruit of that tree should bear witness of the Father. And likewise, the Father uses the tree to bring and nourish others by the seed of truth. Thus, the function of prophecy is for the nation of Israel to reveal the seed inside, which is the word. That thing that the King James Version says. It's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's really the word. Throughout history, throughout the history of Torah and the Tanakh, there are prophets called to bring forth the inner seed. So, in this book, right, the function or the truth and function of the house of Judah and their companions is the same pattern. The pattern is to show the seed so that the fruit can then be judged. So the reason for the prophet that is coming, obviously, is to show the seed, right, is the word. So a lot of people, obviously, have this... a lot of people have an issue understanding the Hamashiach. And the reason why they have this issue is because they don't read. It's very simple, and you don't read the book that makes it very simple to understand it. And I'm guilty of that. I remember growing up in Christianity, and I'd be like, okay, I don't understand how Yah is doing this in this capacity, but then you said you can't save, only you can save, but then you have a savior. And all this stuff got like really, really, really confusing, right? And it's like, you're like, I get it. And then you have people who play on that because they're just as confused as a lot of us are. And then they say, oh, well, see, I got it because it's like this and it's, and I'm like, that still don't sit right either. You know, it doesn't line up. Because anytime you try to split the testimony, it's one book and it has one purpose, only one purpose. I tell people all the time, yes, the Bible is biased. It is biased completely because it only has one message. Everything else God has given you to explore and understand based upon the boundaries set up in the book. But does Yah really seek to tell us exactly, like how he spoke, and when I spoke, you know, this molecule of this combined with this, and then it did this, and then it did this, and then it did this, and that's how we got earth. And when I said this, no, he said, I separate the firmament from the firmament, and I put, you know, the fish in the sea and the birds in the air, and then I took man and I created him, and I breathed into he didn't say, well, when I breathed into him the breath of life, what happened was, you know, those oxygen molecules then turned it. He was like, I got one thing for you to get in this. And everything else you can explore because that's part of being a human. Explore, get a microscope, look at some stuff. Yeah. But I want you to know one thing. I did it, and because I did it, I have the final say on everything. So just remember, as you're out there looking for how things happen, just know I did it. And then as you look, just give me the glory. I'm good. Like if you find out that, oh, you know, H2O is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, you can't create a hydrogen and you can't create an oxygen. So give me the glory. Good job though for actually, you know, digging deeper. High five. Now find something else, right? But that wasn't his purpose. His purpose was, I'm going to show you that I'm in control. And the reason being is because when I pick a people, don't nobody get to question why I pick those people. You don't get to say, well, these people are actually better at being the people than these people. No. I picked those people for a reason. And I have a very good reason why I picked those people. And when I pick the way the world will be saved, you don't get to say, well, why don't you just do it like this? Because I got this. That's me. That's my business, not your business. And Scripture says that he had salvation before the foundation of the earth. Before. So before you had an opinion about what he was doing, he had salvation. Right? So you don't get no say on what happened before you even existed. Before you know what I mean? But I did it because I knew that when I created you, or when I thought of you, that I would need to also redeem you. Because I had all this planned out before. So to prove it, because I mean, who cares what I say if I can't prove it, right? We're going to go to Genesis 1:1. And then we'll talk about this prophet a little bit more. Genesis 1:1, right, starts off in Hebrew. Because in English you don't see it. But I'm going to show you how you can see it, because Yah is always a step ahead of crafty counsel. And he knows when people start to mess with his stuff. So he was ahead of Christianity when they told you, skip all that other stuff and start in John. All you got to do is pick up John. And you're like, John? Yeah, start in John because you're going to learn all this stuff about the Messiah. It's important. And then you go around and you read Matthew and then Mark and Luke, but John is really important. But Yah was ahead of the crafty counsel. So if you look here, in Hebrew it says in, right? In beginning, right? So it says Reshit, right? So even in Hebrew, if you don't know Hebrew, you're like, well, it doesn't mean anything. And I had a person come on my YouTube channel the other day and was like, well, you can't really just look at the pictures of the words and then get the meaning of the words, because that's not how I was taught by my rabbi. And I was like, okay. Like, sure. If that's, your rabbi doesn't want you to do this, because then it thwarts your idea of there not being a Messiah. And then you can have your own picture of what in beginning means. And then you can tell people that, you know, God did this, and then some Jews obviously believe in Big Bang, and then there's a Big Bang, but God was in control of it all, but this is how it happened. Yah gives you a story. If you don't make it past the first word, it's cool, because you got it all, if you know Hebrew, right? So, on here it says in, right? So remember I told you that the in is the bed or the house, right? The house. So he doesn't start off before that. He's like, I'm not dealing with what I was doing before you got here. What does that matter to you? Like, what? You can't comprehend what I was doing before you existed. You're finite. I'm infinite. If I tell you what I was doing before I started dealing with you, your brain would explode. You're not ready for all that. So let me put it into terms you can understand. In the beginning, in this house that you live in, this is what was going on. Everything else, the revealed things are yours. The hidden things, the stuff that's mine. And we'll talk about that later, but right now let's deal with this. So he says in, so be, reshit. So it's translated as in beginning, right? But if you take each letter, so the bet is the house or the inn, right? The house. The resh is the head or the person or the chief, the beginning of something, right? So the aleph represents Yah, right? And I'll show you something else cool after this. So the aleph represents Yah, right? He is the person who is the head of the house, right? And the shin means to eat, consume, or destroy, right? The yod means hand, arm and hand. It's actually the right hand. It's the strong hand. And the tav, in this word, and it's right here, is mark, sign, covenant. So really, pretty much the story is, the father of the house is, with his strong hand, is going to afflict the covenant, right? So the covenant actually, and people, obviously the way we use the cross today is obviously not in the capacity of what it was, but the actual picture of the Tav in Paleo Hebrew looks like this. It looks like this. And it's actually two sticks or a meeting place, and it actually looks like a cross. So the Father had already laid out the plan of what you would consider covenant or salvation before the foundation of the earth. This is my first word, right? So I made a little joke about what Yah was doing before, right? He got to this portion. Well, every Hebrew verse, like we count in English, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you also count in Hebrew, like achat, shatam, shlos, like you count in like that, but the letters, the numbers are represented by Hebrew letters. So really, in verse 1, there's an aleph, like where that one would be, there's an aleph. It sits outside of what's going on. Like I was here, the aleph starts off the verse. So before I get to beginning, just know it was me, and then it began. So that's kind of cool. Okay. So, back to the portion about, in the beginning, Yah created the heavens and the earth, right? So, I just gave you that little picture, and I know people go, well, that's Yiddish, and people don't speak that kind of Hebrew, because we speak this different kind of Hebrew. Okay, so let's go to John 1:1 and see if the story that I told about in Genesis, talking about this house with this father using his strong right hand to afflict for the covenant, so let's see if that actually exists anywhere else in Scripture, and did we just keep looking over it because some of us don't want to believe the New Testament and other of us just don't read. All right? Let's go to John chapter 1, verse 1.
No, we talked about Syria and that.
Okay.
That's what he was doing with Syria. That's what was in Syria.
Are we there?
That's part of it.
John 1:1. It's going to sound very, very similar all of a sudden. Says, in the beginning, John just takes us right back to the beginning. So he was like, look, just in case somebody told you to pop open your Bible in the middle, let me just start back in the beginning. Right? And so he says, in the beginning was the Word, in all capitals. And the Word was with Yah, and the Word was Yah. The same was in the beginning with Yah. All things. Remember that things? Things is that same word for word. It's the orderly arrangement of things. All orderly things were made by him, and without him, not anything was made that was made. It said, in him was life, and that life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, right? So we're getting the Genesis account. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was was void and dark, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So you get, and there was darkness, and light shineth. He said, let there be light, and light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. He's giving you the whole story over again, but he's making the connection. And he said, and there was a man sent from Yah, so he's talking about himself, so we'll skip down. He's talking about John, and he's saying, I was sent to bear witness of this light, showing you what the light was, right? And he says, he says, was sent which bear the light, that was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him. So he's the Word. He's that which is spoken that created everything, the orderly arrangement of things. And the world knew him not. He came unto his own, right? So the prophet is revealing the Word, right? In order to uncover the seed. So I'm coming to you because you're the seed. We're supposed to know each other because you're supposed to have what I'm talking about in you. And then when I speak to you, it's supposed to prick something in you, and you go, oh, you're talking to me. I'm supposed to understand you. He says, so he came to his own, and they received him not. But as many as received him, to them he gave power to become the sons of Yah. Even to them that believe on his name, and it says, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but Yah. So I can't deal with people who tell me that the Messiah was born because his mom was, in all respect, I'm not saying this, but I'm saying what people say. His mom was a 13, 14, 15-year-old thought who just couldn't control herself and got with this guy and then got pregnant. That's what you're telling me, right? And you're telling me that you got this because you can't comprehend the light. Clearly, you don't understand still, even though you believe in the Messiah, who exactly he is and what his function is, right? So it literally says, which were born not of blood. Okay, so if we, little science, when a mother carries a baby, her blood never crosses with the baby's blood. That's why women can have AIDS and have babies who don't have AIDS. Because the blood actually comes from the seed. Right? And the seed just happens to be the Word, right? So it's not yours. You don't get any claim in it. But I gave it flesh because there's rules. Now we'll go back to the beginning, and there's this whole thing about physics and dimensions, and we won't get into that, but I'll explain this to you. How this realm operates is that it operates based upon rules. Yah has to also, when he sets rules, because he's righteous, he follows his own rules. So if the rule is to dwell in this realm, you have to be seen, and you have to have flesh, right? Then I have to also create in that same fashion. So in order to redeem, I can't redeem as nothing. And I can't redeem in a way that you haven't seen it. So then what do? I raise up a prophet, like unto something you understand, but greater, and create a casing. Everybody's seen Avatar, right?
Yes.
Some people hate it. I love the movie because I saw a whole bunch of these parallels.
Yes.
Just because somebody takes a body, it's just a body, it's a suit. It's not the suit that matters. I know we've all had loved ones pass away, and when you stop and you look at them, everybody says the same thing. That's not them. Right? You say that. That's what you say. That's not who. They're not there. Well, how are they not there? Because they're right there. I see them. They look the same. They're right there. That's not them. Why? Because the suit actually housed something that made that person who they were. Flip it. Everybody has also met a person that really, really, really reminded them of somebody. Like, God, dog, if you didn't look like that, I would swear that you were right. Because the flesh is nothing without that which is in it. So Yah said, okay, you can't understand me. I get it, because you can't see me. So then I need to let you see me, but I have to veil my glory. See, I let Moshe see me, and it jacked him all completely up. I let y'all see me a little bit, he says in this verse, and he said, oh, no, we don't want to speak to Yah anymore. Send us somebody who can speak to us, and we don't want to see him because that's too much. It's too heavy. The glory's too heavy. You got mountains shaking and fire, and he's too heavy for us, right? So he says, okay, you spoke well. Why? Because before the foundation of the earth, I already intended to visit you and to redeem you, but I have to have things happen in their proper function. In the negative, I tell people all the time, people talk about this whole idea of the mark of the beast and I tell people, you already accepted it. The crossing the line of actually taking a mark is not going to be hard because you've already done it in your heart and in your head, right? So that's Satan's way, but in Yah's way, the same thing with his word, right? If you've already understood my function and you've seen these pictures in your mind and you've been practicing my word, then when I show up, you won't miss me. You miss me because you were lying and you were not doing what I said to do and you're not reading my word. That's why when he came, you didn't know who I was. He said, Moses spoke of me. If you had believed Moses, you would believe me, right? So it's the same exact function. So he comes in this function. So this suit doesn't matter. I'm gonna put it into a suit because it's a veil. The flesh is the veil. Remember, there's plenty of times where he unveils. Remember, he unveils on the mountain, and guess who's there? Moses and Elijah, right? When he finally unveils and shows the seed within, when you get to the Brit Kadeshan, you get to what many call the crucifixion, but when he dies on the tree, the suit then dies, right? When the suit dies, I'm saying the suit because when the flesh dies, it can no longer hold the contents that are within, right? So what happens when they release? They're released. There was so much power inside that the whole world, the whole earth went crazy. So just, taking a portion, because that's what it is. By Yah taking a portion of himself and using it to create, right? Does he stop being Yah, right? We reject things because we don't know them. So I'll give you something that we often reject that people say. I don't believe in reincarnation at all, but I believe in law. And the law of energy is that energy is not created or destroyed, right? Right, but it's transferred, right? So look at making rules and then obeying them, right? He obeys his own rules. I'm gonna obey my own rules. So if I take a portion of me, and I'm infinite and limitless. I have no end, I have no beginning. And I take a portion of me and I say, I'm gonna take this power, and I'm gonna use some of this power to make the sun. And I'm gonna use some of my power to make the moon. And I'm gonna use some of my power to speak things, and it's gonna do their thing, and they're gonna operate, and they're gonna be consistent because they're operating according to my power. It says, I hold everything together, right? And I'm gonna take some of my power, right? And I'm also going to take a portion of me, and place it into flesh in order to be my lamb that I need to redeem my people. And it'll be a kinsman. So it will be a kinsman because guess what? He'll look like you, and he'll walk like you, and he'll talk like you. So you're not going to be confused. Like if he comes looking a little different than you, you might be like, because we were confused for a while. We were like, okay, we believe him because we know the word, but we don't really identify with him very much. Like it's kind of weird. We come home and he's kind of like pale, but we good because we got pale cousins, so he's still our cousin. He just looks a little different, right? That's what a lot of us did. I mean, serious. So we were like, we're good with that. We got him. He might look like those people, but he don't act like them. He's good. We good, okay? But he's like, no. I set it up to where when he came, he would look like you and he would talk like you. So he's a kinsman redeemer. He says he'll be of your brethren, right? And he'll be revealing the seed that's within. Well, what was the Messiah's whole purpose? I'm going to tell you what you're doing, and I'm going to fix this, and this person's lying, and that's not the word. Actually, the word says this, and I'm carrying out this function, okay? So that which was within him, talking about that whole idea of cyclical then, he put the power in him. So if energy is not created or destroyed but transferred, then when something dies, it says absent from the body, and it's funny because we misunderstand so many things because we get small-minded. So absent from the body is present with Yah. Why is absent from the body present with Yah? Anybody know? Anybody? Why is absent from the body present with Yah?
Well, because he redeems that which is his.
Okay. So in natural terms, how would that work?
It says he takes his portion back.
Right. So if energy is not created or destroyed but transferred, then if I give off a portion to me, I'm never less me. I never stop being me because the rule is that anything I give off comes back to me. And guess if it doesn't come back to me, then it was never mine. Right? So the whole idea of resurrection, people don't understand either. And I don't even know how I'm over here, but I'm over here, so I'm going to finish it. The whole idea of resurrection is this. If the flesh dies, but that which was in you is mine, then it comes back to me, and guess what? Because it's mine, I can give it back. It's like easy. Like, if you are obedient, if you are obedient, and that which I invested in you, you were obedient, you took care of it, then it's going to come back to me. And guess what? Because you're obedient. Here, have it back. It didn't cost me nothing to give it to you. Keep it. And take a little bit more, too. Right? You see how that works, that picture? But it's covered and veiled under English. So this prophet that's coming, he's coming to reveal the seed within. What Yah is looking for at judgment, he's not looking for whether or not you kept Christmas right, or whether or not you were like, oh, I believed in this and that, and because he said a lot of people are going to be like, Lord, Lord, all these things I've done. You bought bikes for kids. I didn't ask you to do all that. All I asked you to do was that seed I invested, right? Multiply it, bear fruit. The whole idea of the seed is to bear fruit. I'm checking your tree for fruit. Now, if I find some strange fruit in the process, I'll prune it. No, we got to cut off that branch. That branch is an orange tree bearing apples. Okay, I want this. Like, let me prune that. But you don't want to be pruned, and you want to come up and you got 12 different fruits on your tree. I got Christmas fruit. I got Easter fruit on this side. I got a little bit of Hebrew fruit right here. And I got a little, Dagon down here. He's like, that tree is strange, and now I have to uproot it. Depart from me, because I gave you a seed, and somehow along the way you took a whole bunch of other seeds too, right? And so the prophet then comes, and the reason for the prophet is to go, let me see your seed. Let me examine it. Okay, there's something wrong with your seed right here. We're going to fix it. Watch me. This is how you fix your seed, and you watch. And then the seed is then repaired. But I'm not giving you a new seed. The same seed is the seed. It's the word. I gave you my portion, right? So tell me all the time about the parable of the talents, and a lot of Christian people too. The idea of the parable of the talents is that he gives these people, it's 3 guys, and I might get them off the numbers of what he gave. So he gives one guy one talent. And he gives another guy, this is 3, I think it's like 2, but let's say 3. And he gives the other guy like 7 or 10. And the guy with 10, he goes and he sows and he brings back more. He brings back 100-fold. And this guy with 2 does the same thing. He goes off and he brings back more. And he's like, but the guy with the 1, he buries it. And then when the master comes back, this guy presents himself. He's like, wow, very good. You know what? Here's some more for you. I'm very proud of you. Good, faithful servant. Well done. This guy, he had less, but he did his thing. And he's like, okay, you didn't do like him, but what I gave him, I didn't give you. So, but you did your best with what you had. So here you go. Very good. Very good. He got to this guy and he goes, like, bruh. Like, and he goes, well, I knew you were a mean master, and if I would have lost your 1 talent, then you would have destroyed me. He was like, then you don't know me, and you're wicked. And you know what? Give me that. I'm going to give it to him and you to the fire. See the picture? I'm coming back to see if that seed I gave you or that portion I gave you, you're going to actually bear fruit. But if you just want to just exist, I got something for people like you. Right? And so the whole idea of the prophet then is to come in and then to say, hey, let me show you how to make that grow. Let me reveal what you have in you. Let me point out who you are and what you're supposed to be doing and what your function is. And by the prophet being Messiah, he's like, and then Yah says, because you can't understand everything I put around to be a witness, I'll come in this suit, just like you, with the same seed as you, which is mine. I put the same thing in you that's in me. That's why he said, all the things that I can do, you can do too. And greater if you're just obedient to the Father, because he's going to add to your portion. So he says, let me show you how my word is supposed to walk. You're supposed to be my word to the world. You're the light of the world. Let me show you what you're supposed to be doing. And let me show you how the world is supposed to be watching you. Right? And then that's what he does. So he walks out Yah's word, and he's perfectly obedient to everything that the prophet is supposed to be doing. That he's revealing the seed. I mean, revealing the intent of your heart. Your heart is the soil, and his word is the seed. His word is that portion. So then I'm going to reveal it. And he told people, you're wicked. You're a viper. You're a serpent. You good. Just go and sin no more. You see what I'm revealing based upon Torah what your intent is, so that you can prune and then bear more fruit. And then those who are not, they're cast out.
So is that tying back into what you're saying when you say you are
Right. So many are called, right? But few are chosen. You are already called. I gave you a portion when I created you. So are you going to yield and then return back to me what is mine so that I can give you some more and you can yield and, right? I've already done my part, which is to put it there. But are you going to kill it or are you going to nurture it and grow it by using my word? Right? And so the whole idea for us as a people, then resurrection is when he sees his seed in you and I give it back. I'm going to give it my piece, my portion that's in you. When you die, it's going to come back to me and I'm going to give it back to you because you're obedient with the little bit that I gave you. Oh, that's it.
Royalty. Royalty. Power to the chosen people.